This time I have a Sony TC854-4. This is a 4-channel quadraphonic reel-to-reel deck from Sony. This one's complaint is it doesn't play back using the playback head. The owner already recapped it, so let's check it out. I'm working on a reel-to-reel. This is a Sony TC854 4-track. I got a problem on this one here is it does not play back from the rear channel. If I try to bring up, all I get is front channel, which is recorded at a different speed on this tape. It only gives me a playback when I'm in synchro, so I'm not getting playback from the playback head, just from the record head when it's in synchro. But I'm not getting anything on the rear channel from either the record head or the playback head on this unit. Now this unit was brought in from a client that has probably gone in and recapped it themselves. I haven't looked into it yet, but they said it won't play back, so that's what we're going to investigate on this one to see why it's not playing. Well, something's really messed up on this that I can see. For starters, when I'm in synchro mode, besides all that noise on the rear channel, if I bring my synchro record, should be, or playback. Yeah, synchro record uses the record head, but on play, as you can see, when I bring my hand anywhere near the playback head, now I should not be getting induction, just getting my finger near the head. So maybe there's a connection broken here. It could even be the playback head could be foobar on this unit. That's a real possibility. Or it could be a connection somewhere between the head and the amplifier. But we should not be getting all this racket, all that hiss. We should not get that. Although we only get it in the playback mode. What about the other channel? Go to the front channel. Let's see what the front channel does. See, I'm not even getting anything on this one. But no sound when the tape passes over the head. In playback, only synchro. This head here. So that's this head. In playback, it's using the playback head, and I hear nothing. I'll first try removing the block, just to check the connections here on the head block. Okay, with the head block disconnected, I should hear hum when I run my fingers on the contacts or near the contacts. The hiss is beside the point. It's the amplifiers are noisy. That's another fault, but let's just see whether we're going to get any. Okay. So both of the front channel works. Let's try the rear channel. So we get both rear channel. Well, one of them works. One channel, one side works. So one side works, the other side I've got nothing. I've got the channel 4, but nothing on channel 3 when I touch channel 3. Channel 1 and 2, we'll see, I don't have the speakers hooked up, but we'll see the meters will move. We should see the 4 meters move. So there's those two, and then the other two over here, but only one's working. So there's a preamp problem, but we weren't getting any sound off the head block when it was connected up, so the head itself might be shot. Probably the easiest way to check that is just to check the head to see if any of the coils are open. Open coil on the head would certainly be a reason why we don't get any audio from the playback head, which is this one right here. I don't know what the internal resistance should be for each of the coils, but if we compare it to the record play head, which is this one here, the record play head, we have 9.3 ohms, 9.4 ohms, 9.3 ohms, 9.3 ohms. That's for the 4 coils. When I go to the playhead, 119, 126, 127, 118. We should be getting signal off the tape. When I have this plugged in, and the tape is playing over the head, I should be hearing sound from the playback head, and I'm not. There's an amplifier problem as well, but when I play this tape back, this is at 15 IPS, this recording, so in addition to these problems that I've already discovered, this is making a lot of noise. Listen how loud that motor is. Like, that motor is loud. Get the back off this unit. It's got separate cards for playback and separate cards for record. So here's our playback, front and rear channels. The rear channel, let's see if I can pull this card out. Just take a quick peek at this card, see if I can spot any issues with it. Looks like there's been a bunch of caps replaced on here. The owner of it likes to do their own work, and they've changed caps out. I'm just wondering whether maybe some of the connections here on the plugs on the back are not seated properly, or there's been some damage done on the board. I can swap them around too. I can swap the front and the rear boards around because they're identical, to see whether the fault goes from the front channel to the rear channel and vice versa. One thing I will do is I'll swap the front and the rear boards around. So I've plugged them back in the correct order, but I'm just going to unplug them again here, and we'll swap the front and the rear playback boards around and see whether I get both channels, if I can get hum from both channels on the rear channel now. Okay, so now the rear channel is what I'm connected to. Remember, before I was only getting noise from the right channel. Let's see whether both the right and the left, when I put my hand near, I'm still only getting from the right channel. I'm not getting anything from the left. So somewhere between here and here, plus that's really noisy. Like, we shouldn't have that kind of noise. If I switch to the other output, switch to the front output from my playback amps, you should hear both I bring my hand anywhere near the preamp's working, but when I bring my hand up here closer to the head, it's not. I wonder if that connector is bad on the back where the head plugs in, or the head itself. Same was on the other channel here. I'm seeing, okay, I'm seeing at the preamp, I'm seeing both left and right on the meters. If we look here, even without having this thing turned up very loud. Right? Can you guys see this? So watch the meters. Right? Both of these meters when I get my fingers in there, and on this one. So the preamps are working, as you can see. But when I get my hand near the head, I'm not getting anything. Only one channel. So somewhere between there and here, we have a break. Pretty sure these are the head wires going into the bundle, and they go up to this connector here, which passes them through to another connector that connects to the amplifiers. Huh. I wonder if that is where the fault might be. Definitely have a fault somewhere in here. Oh, you know what? I bet you this connector is broken. It looks like this plastic connector is snapped. That is what looks like where our problem is. Let me see if I can just pop this out of here. There's a good indication right there that these connectors are failing. One of the clips, one of the spring terminals has fallen out of one of them. It's going to remove this shield. Okay, now this plug goes into a little piece of circuit board that connects to the preamps. Let's just undo this plug. Oh, yeah, okay, I think we see where the fault is on this one. This plug is broken in two. That would certainly explain why there is no signal getting from the playback head. You see this? It's snapped. It's broken in two. Well, let's see if I can glue this piece back together with some epoxy. And I'll try gluing this back together and see whether that will get this thing to work, get me some sound. This is the problem. You get brittle plastic. You can see right here it's cracked. Broken right there on either side. So let me get some epoxy mixed up. I'm going to glue this piece back together, and we'll see whether, as you can see, one of these gold contacts has already fallen out of it. It's one that didn't have anything connected to it, but that connector passes the heads onto this little circuit board here, which goes onto another series of connectors that the cards plug into. And I had signal on the back of the cards, but I had nothing on the head connector, and that's coming off this wire here. So let's glue this together. Fingers crossed I'll be able to get some noise from this unit. So I've just got some JB Weld, or Cold Weld I guess this one's called. It's not JB Weld, it's a different brand, but the same thing. It's a epoxy, a reinforced epoxy, and I'm just gluing the connector. I'm gonna hold it here until it sets, so that it at least holds the connector together, and it'll provide enough, hopefully enough tension on those pins that when it's plugged into the little circuit board here, the connection will be solid. And that's one of the problems whenever you buy this old garbage. People love this. They love this old equipment, but this old equipment was never designed to last 50 or 60 years, and it's all got major problems. Like why they did a connection like this and not just wire it direct. I guess the idea behind it was you could unplug the the amplifier section and take the entire amplifier section out for servicing. But anytime you've got these connectors like this, it's just a recipe for disaster, because they all get brittle and break. Every single one of them is going to break. It doesn't matter what brand. They're all made by the same company in Japan, and the plastics all have gotten very brittle over the years. It's just like that camera I was working on the other day. When I went to pull the side cover off it, the side cover actually split because the plastic was brittle. Okay, so I've got this set up for a good hour or so, even though it is rated at 5-minute epoxy. I wanted to make sure that it's set up properly. So put the plug back in, put the shield back on it, and then we'll give this thing a try and see whether I get back the rear channels. So if we remember, I had no sound in playback. I only had sound in synchro track before. So let's check the rear channel out. This is at 15 IPS. Let's see if I get anything. Okay, I got sound. One channel's not working. That could simply be that connector. I had nothing before on that. The other channel seems to be working. If I switch to the front channel, and this is at 7.5, so I'll just drop down to the 7.5. This one, okay, that's working on playback and synchro. The control sounds dirty. But, so we're making progress. It's definitely that connector is bad. I wonder if I just touch that connector whether it's going to do something here. That's where our fault is, right here. There, see, now it's on. I may have to actually hardwire these together. That might be the ultimate solution, is just to hardwire the heads right. Cut this off. I think that's probably going to be, as you can hear, I've got both channels now, and the hum has gone away. So here's our fault. So I think that's the next thing. Now that we know with certainty that there's where our fault is, I think that's the only real solution, is that with that connector being broken the way it is, I think the only solution going forward will be to actually remove the connector and connect these wires directly to the preamp. This connector is going to be cut, and I'm going to put the wires directly together. That's the only solution I can see to keep this thing from acting up again. So let's get started. So there's a couple ways I could do this. One is I could, one way to do it would be to actually take the wires right off here and just attach the wires together, put some heat shrink over them. Another way, which is probably easy, just as easy if not easier, will be just to take the wires and just attach them right to the little tabs here on the board. And I can do them one at a time, start at one end and work my way to the other. That's probably the easiest of them all, is just to do that. Just cut this wire tie. These pins are actually coming right out from the socket here, but I can just unsolder the wires. See, here's the problem: these pins are actually breaking right free. So we'll just take these out and just tack them down directly to the circuit board. Ground on one side and the conductor on the other.
There's like lots of videos where it's like kind of like flip from various
As I work my way through, I've got about half of them done now. Hardwiring, this will prevent any future problems caused by this connector. As I mentioned before, these connectors are always issues, and there's more of them behind these circuit boards as well, which could act up down the road. We hope that they don't, but it's always an ongoing concern with all these machines, and the best way to deal with this in most cases is just to remove them and eliminate them. Another problem I've discovered with this unit, I don't know if you guys can see it on camera yet, but maybe I can get a shot of it here. There's a snubber that's blown up in the back here, if you can see it. I don't know if you guys can see it from there. If I move this bundle out of the way, you'll probably see the snubber that's blown up right here. Look at it, see that? So that's a capacitor with a resistor across it, and all it is it's just to, I mean, I can remove it, it's not even really necessary. It's not doing anything now because it's failed, but basically it's a 120 ohm resistor with a capacitor. I think it's probably a 0.1 microfarad cap strung across it. All that is there for is to debounce the power switch, so when you turn the switch on and off, it doesn't spark, and it'll save the switch from burning up. So that part has failed, as you can see, right there. That part has gone kaboom. So we're going to have to, I don't even have to remove it. I mean, it won't do anything, it won't hurt anything like that, but it probably is one that should be removed and replaced with a cap and resistor combo, just to prevent the switch from arcing when it's turned on and off. That's all the job is when you turn it off, because it uses an induction motor, right? You got a big induction motor here. So when you turn it off, there could be a spark generated. The spark will, over time, can cause the contacts in the power switch to fail. And the damage to the switch, I mean, the switch probably already has some contact damage from that being bad like that, but we should actually replace that with a cap, or a cap and a resistor, and put a new snubber in. Anyway, half the switch is done. This is the record play side, and now these ones are the 4 playback only. So I'll start at the other end on this one. And we'll start removing these wires and start working our way back from the other side and meet in the middle, basically. So it's going to pop off the little boots and unsolder the wires, and then just attach them onto the circuit board, which is what I've been doing for the other side. So we'll start out with this one. Now it's important to get the connections correct, yellow and white, otherwise the channels will be reversed. Yellow is on the edge, white is the next one over. Yellow on the edge will go over to the edge here, and they're also color coded on the back here, so it's pretty easy to see where they go. But yellow, white, and then the ground on the other side. This is half the fun, getting the wires to stay in place while I solder them in. I'll do the ground wire first just to hold it in place. So that'll hold the wire in place, and then I can just attach the yellow and the white to the other two terminals, and then we'll continue for the remainder, the other three channels. This is one of the channels, and there's 4 wires. That's one. I'll do the other 3 off camera, and then we can try this unit out. Okay, I've got the connector permanently attached. The wires are permanently attached to the little circuit board there. Got rid of this old broken connector. I'm going to put the shield back on front here, just to shield the wires. Just like it was when when the plug was there, even though it's not, doesn't really do much, just to shield the connector a bit from any influence from motors and stuff that's above it. Time to try the unit out. I've got the front channel connected, 7.5 IPS. There's the front channel, and we'll go over to the rear channel. And the rear channel is recorded at 15 IPS. Okay. Synchro track works on playback. This is using the record head. That's why there's the highs aren't there. Listen to the difference. Right? Synchro, of course, using the record head does not have the fidelity because it's a wider gap head. And if we go back to 7.5, we'll just check to verify that the 7.5 is working in synchro as well as playback. Of course, it's ended. Gotta wait for the next track to start. And there it is, and it's there. If I have one in playback and one in synchro, you'll hear an echo because of the one's playing on the record head, the other's playing on the playback head. We'll go back to the other channel and go back to 15 IPS. That's the 2 rear channels, 15 IPS. This is a very, very old worn tape, so what I'll do is I'm going to make a test recording. I'm just going to load another tape up. We'll do a test recording for both the front and the rear channels, and then that'll verify that this unit's working properly. Okay, I'm going to record. I got my rear recording enabled. I won't bother with the front at this point. Recording enabled in source mode and tape mode. I'm going to do this at 15 IPS. We're going to record on the rear channel first, and I'll do the front. So record, and I'll start my music playing. And if I switch to tape, I can hear back playback. We're going to rewind that back. We're going to check it for playback. Then I'm going to do a recording on the front channel. So, good enough. So that channel records. We'll flip this one to record for the front. And I'll switch it over to the front channel here, and go back to the beginning here. Okay, we'll start a different track. Record a different song this time. What's next? Maybe the same song. Yeah, why not? Same song. I'm not getting a record on the left channel. Why not? Let's see why we're not getting any record on the left channel. Good thing I checked that. Because it appears we have no left channel record. Unless it's a switch here, which is possible. We'll just check this out. We'll just try hitting record again and see whether... Oh, there's something there. It's weak. That's better. It's just a switch. Just a switch is bad. There, that's all it was. Just a switch. If I go to playback, I can hear what was on that. Playing it back using the record head. So I wonder if I can get at that switch and give it a shot of cleaner. The switch in question is right there. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but it's in behind the motor here. It's right down there. It's easily accessible. I'm just going to get in there with my can of neutral and give the switches a clean. Give them all a shot of cleaner if I can get in here. Okay, now we'll just activate the switches a bit. And we'll give it one last try, one last test before I throw it back together and get it out of here. Oh, I still need to deal with that snubber, right? That snubber is still needs to be dealt with. So, record. Put on tape 4. And we're recording both channels. We'll go to the other side, the rear channel, and just make sure that those switches are also. Okay, so I think this is good. It's recording and playing, which is what we're after. The only last thing I need to deal with is that cap across the power switch. It's just there to stop the sparking when the switch is turned off. And the resistor in there is probably still fine. It's just going to be the capacitor that's part of that component, that snubber as it's called, has blown out. As you can see back here, it has it's puffed up pretty good. You see it right down there. That part has kind of exploded. So it's got to go. I mean, it's not a critical part, but it has failed. So it needs to come out. So this is the part right here. It's just a combination component. It's got a 0.1 microfarad and a 120 ohm resistor in parallel with each other, rated at 500 volts. As you can see, the cap itself has exploded in here. It had to come out because, well, that's a hazard, right? That's a hazard if that component were to short when the power was off. When the power is on, of course, the power switch just puts a short across here. All this does is when you turn off the switch, it allows the arcing to be snubbed out. And it can just be done with a capacitor. You don't need to have a resistor across. Just a cap will do it. 0.1 microfarad cap across there will easily snub out any arcing from the switch. But it did have to come out because with it in the condition that it's in right now, it could have failed and started to burn right when the switch was turned off. So if we open this thing up, you'll see what's inside it that is popped. It's going to be the capacitor that's popped on here. Is gone boom. And all it is just a Mylar cap with a resistor across it. So I can just change this with the standard 0.1 Mylar cap and just stick it across the power switch. It's pretty easy to get in there to do that, so let me do that. So it's going to put a standard 0.1 microfarad. This one's rated at 630 volts. It's got to get it in there and solder it across the switch. It's going to be fun because there's not a lot of room in here, but I think I can get to the terminals. But you guys won't be able to see it because my hand is going to be in the way. Okay, I got a new capacitor there. I'm just going to put some heat shrink tubing. I'll use my air station because it's got a nice directed airflow to shrink some heat shrink tubing down. So there's the new capacitor that I put in, just on the power switch. That'll cancel out any effect from the power switch being turned on and off, stop the sparking, and protect the power switch from failure. This is the first time I get to use my new air station. on an actual repair job. And this is what they tell you to do on these, because this has got a hot connector on it, so you just take the connector and you cinch it down like that, so that there's no chance that someone's just going to unscrew this and get exposed to potential 120 volts, which is only on when the heater is actually running. Right now it's sitting in the holder, so the only voltage that's on here is the 12 volts or whatever the little fan requires as it's cooling down. The heater comes on when you lift it up, it turns it on to heat it up. Alright, there it is, it's back together. We'll just play this back one last time. Yeah, I know there's nothing on the left channel. That was before I got the switch working, remember? There's the other channel playing now. Go back into record on here. There's the recording on the other channel. Anyway, it's fixed. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.